Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime series where we add value to people's lives happening every Wednesday and Thursday on ebizradio.com. You can catch the Lunchtime series on all major podcast channels, and to help us grow the channel and add more value to people's lives, please follow, like, and share today's conversation, because on today's coaching segment, we have the business coach and consultant from Amaze-Yourself, Yvonne Dram, joining us back again. Yvonne Dram, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, I remember last time we chatted, I know that you moved from, I think, the Netherlands to Spain. How's Spain treating you?
Spain is amazing. Yes, it is Spain. Yes, and it's a lovely place to be. I'm still very fortunate every morning when I wake up and I see the sun.
And I love you. Just briefly, like when we chatted, you said that it's a brain shift and it's a mind shift, because people kind of take siestas really serious, and they kind of open or they don't open, or they kind of available or they just don't open their doors, or so that's quite a mind shift.
It is. It's very much a mind shift. It's a lesson in patience, and it's very much also a lesson in going where your energy is at. So they are active in the morning, sleep in the afternoon when the sun is the hottest. And then, honestly, at 6, everybody wakes up again. The street fills up, everything opens up, and it's like, where have all these people been all day? But then they get energy back and they're just there. So I love the fact that they really follow their energy.
Yeah, it might actually become a thing to consider when you think of, we all live life at such a rat race, and you kind of go where the energy feels good, just do that, because that's far more freeing and flowing than being so structured and caught up in what we do all day. But I mean, on today's conversation, when we last chatted, we had a wonderful conversation around really, there's something that you spoke about, motivation, and I'm going to leave it up to you to preface what we're going to talk about. But it really stuck with me, and I was like, man, every time I see anyone that mentions anything about motivation, I use this line. But please set up the conversation for us and preface that for us on what today's topic is.
Right. So we spoke about motivation, and often we think that we need a lot of motivation and a lot of self-confidence before we can take action. And especially the confidence part is something that is triggering for most, because if you do not feel the confidence, then how can you take action? So you get into that chicken egg discussion. No, I need first more confidence, but I need to take action before I can take before I can take action. So I think if you have the right motivation, you can always take action no matter what. And that's what we will talk about. So how do I get the motivation, have the confidence that leads me to take action no matter what?
So I mean, and confidence can show up in many different ways, and I think just sort of looking at what Google shares with us, there's some sentiments around the 4 types of confidence. Self-confidence is unwarranted confidence, so people just thinking they know what they think they know. Pasted on confidence, where you pretend to know what you know, and I've already done that kind of confidence, which almost is a little bit arrogant, and the effort will lead to results confidence, right? So if I put enough effort into it, you get the results. But what we do know is confidence is an inside job, right? It starts with me.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us more from that perspective?
Yeah, and it so let's talk about confidence. I think about the situation everybody can recognize and how it's an internal job, right? So you go to this party, and in the party, everybody you love, everybody there loves you, is present, right? So you open the door, you feel great. Doesn't really matter what you wear. Doesn't really matter how you look like, because these people love you no matter what. So you walk in the door confident, right? All's good. Now imagine that same situation where you walk into a room, you know nobody, and you know that the few people that are there really hate your guts. Right? And you go in there very conscious because, oh my God, you're having a bad hair day. I don't know. You feel immediately not confident, and nothing really has changed except, the people in the room are different. And of course, something has changed. But the main thing that changed is your inside perspective, your confidence. Because apparently, now that you're facing people that you don't know, or you're facing people that might not like you, you have a lack of confidence, whereas the situation is totally the same, which actually tells us that you can do something yourself to change your confidence internally, so you actually can beat any situation that you're facing with.
Yeah. So, and I love that. I love that sort of analogy, because I think that, it's an obvious one that everybody relates to. You find yourself going into comfortable places, and it's sort of, it's easy to be there, but and you go to an uncomfortable situation, that perspective is everything, right? But in terms of, I want to bring it again sort of from an angle of your comfort zone, but also from a leadership perspective. Why is it so important for us from a leadership perspective to really actively know what our confidence behaves like, looks like, feels like, and how does it sort of make a difference in the world out there?
Well, very clearly, confidence makes a difference, because a confident leader is one that we will gladly follow, is one that we will listen to, is one that we find inspirational, is one that actually, motivates us and gets us into action, because he's so confident, he knows what he's talking about, or she actually understands how everything works. So because of her, I'll go the extra mile. That's really what a confident leader instills in us, right? So it's as a leader, it's very important to show that confidence, because it means we get the people with us. So that's the main thing. And let me take a break there so you can respond.
No, I love that, because I think, I think what I've recognized throughout the years, when I started doing training for a call center once, and it wasn't part of the brief that I had given the organization that we were going to touch on confidence and how to cultivate confidence, but I sort of slipped it into the modules in any case, and just it was such a profound shift that the sales team was doing. That was, in this call center, it was this call center environment, and because we worked on confidence, the shift that the call center made, because we weren't just focused on sales and numbers and how to close a call, we actually moved to confidence. It made this massive shift within the department, and I had some coaching clients coming out of that process as well, purely based on the fact that that's how powerful confidence can really shift not only you as an individual, but you as the team that you're working with. And I think very often people have this idea that confidence happens to those people over there, and I'm not the confident one. I'm not an extrovert, or they label what confidence is supposed to be. Yet it's an inside job, like if we look at what's his name, the psychologist, I can't think of his name now, but he confidence is really built up of self-esteem, and self-talk, right? When you look at those two elements and how they complement each other for really pushing through to a confidence space, it's when your self-talk and your self-efficacy really sort of complement each other, that's where your confidence really lies. And I love that, and that's what leaders can do. They can really learn the skill of cultivating confidence from an internal perspective.
Yes, I agree. And the one thing that sprang to my mind, what I like to do is I like to observe confident people and to just see, okay, so what is it they do? How do they behave? And especially, and if you're listening, you will notice this from now on. How do they carry themselves? And what you will see is there is a lot in their posture as well, because sometimes person walks into the room or a person stands there and you can tell without them having they haven't said a word, but you can tell instantly that person is confident, that person has charisma, or they radiate something that makes me feel like, oh wow, that's something else. And if you start looking at that, it is actually really easy for yourself to mirror that. It is to do with the confidence. Your shoulders are back, you stand up straight. A lot of people have their legs a bit spread, like, hip width, so to say. Sometimes the chin is a bit up, but it's really that power position. And try this. If you feel you are not having a great day, what we tend to do is we tend to make ourselves smaller, right? We tend to arch our shoulders in, have our face angled down. Everything is like, oh, don't look at me because I'm not confident. So if you're feeling, okay, I need to do something on the inner world to feel more confident, you can actually take a different stance to instantly feel confident. And then internally something shifts as well. Oh yes, look at me. I am powerful. I feel confident. I am that leader. And that really helps you a lot. So take a look at those people around you that you feel are confident and start noticing how they carry themselves and how they behave. And then see if there's something you can pick up from that to boost your inner confidence and to improve it.
Yeah. So touching on, where we started this conversation is one of the things, and since I've heard it, since you've mentioned it, motivation doesn't come before the action. And when you first said that, I was like, what? And I was like, and it's profoundly changed how I view motivation, right? We think like, oh yeah, I'm going to be motivated to gym. I'm going to go to gym right now and I'm going to feel so wonderful when I walk. And that's never the case. I need to really just get to the gym. I have to drag myself to the gym. And then I'm like in the gym getting dressed and I'm like, oh, and only by the time I'm probably 10 minutes before I leave, I feel motivated. Right. And I think it's such a profound conversation to have, that motivation doesn't come before the action. Right. There has to be some kind of built momentum and movement into motivating yourself into going to get to where you're going. And it doesn't start the other way. Right. That's so significant.
It is, yes. And it also sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because we've always been told, or at least you pick it up, oh, I'm being motivated, so now I'm going to do it. Yeah, maybe for the first time, oh, I'm going to the gym. Oh, look at the gym. It's all nice. And I've got a new outfit. I'm going to try it on. And then you go and you actually feel totally out of shape and you go like, oh my God, I really don't like this at all. So am I going back? Well, I don't think so. So that's with motivation. If you don't take action for it, it's kind of fleeting. And the thing is, if you actually get into that action, you get motivated, and it doesn't matter whether it's going to the gym or whether it's something else, but you need to make it easy for yourself to take action. So for example, what I do is every morning my gym clothes are already laid out. So I have no excuse whatsoever to not wear them. And because I'm wearing them, I'm going to work out, because otherwise I feel a bit stupid, running around in my gym clothes and not doing a thing. So we can instill these habits in ourselves that kind of makes us take action, which then really leads to that motivation. And funny enough, that also leads to the confidence, because the confidence part comes when you do it more often and when you feel you're more experienced and when you can tap into that, hey, I can do this. That's when the confidence starts. So you can actually build your confidence by taking action.
Yeah.
And another way of doing it, and it's also very interesting, is if you push yourself out of your comfort zone. And the reason is, if we push ourselves out of our comfort zone, and this could be, I don't know, taking a different route, or giving that speech for 100 people instead of the 50 we're used to, doing something you feel a bit like you get that pit in your stomach, you go like, not really sure, but I'm going to give it a go. If you keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, you know that you will actually survive no matter what difficult situation you're in, because you have that experience that you've done it before. If you have survived difficult situations, you are not that easy frazzled when you find yourself facing a difficult situation. And there's another necessary element to this. Don't be afraid to fail. Because if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it's bound to happen that now and again, fortunately, something is not going to go right, because you need to learn, right? Now, if you see it as a learning experience, that's great. You're building up your confidence. But if you actually tell yourself, I'm failing every time when you are actually learning, you're decreasing your confidence.
As you're talking through this, it's something, and I'm so glad, because as you're speaking, I'm going, wow, you're speaking my language. What I refer to, especially with your comfort zone, is the degree to your discomfort is the degree of the learning, right? And all your brain needs to do in that moment is to literally language, yes, I know this is uncomfortable, but what are you learning? Right. And I give people practical examples around that, going, okay, so you're presenting to 200 people and you start freaking out. She's like, yes, you're presenting, but what are you learning? And you're like, I'm freaking out and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. It's like, yes, but what are you learning? Well, I've never done this before. Okay, cool. So you're learning something. What else are you learning? Well, I probably need to speak to someone who's done this before. Yes. What else? Who could you phone then? Right. And suddenly, because you keep asking, what am I learning? What am I learning? You're expanding your comfort zone. Your brain's expanding into a new space and place, even though there's fear attached to it. Right. And it's literally pushing through that fear that gets you kind of going, oh, wow. Okay. Yes, I am learning. I can do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it gets back to that self-talk, right? Like, how do I build that confidence? Because suddenly I'm going from fear to an unknown, to a learning space, to an uplifting space, to a language space. And suddenly your whole self-confidence conversation changes, which I think is such a fantastic process.
I love it. I love the question, what am I learning here? And I love that you're saying, the way you stretch your confidence zone is the level of learning that you get done. And that's really something, Yeah, I totally subscribe to that. And I can see how it actually builds you up and your confidence at the same time. It's amazing.
So one of the things that I just want to touch on, that I think people often go, well, we know we need to have confidence. Yes. But people often, like this, in the last 2 weeks, I was talking to a group of executives and I said, guys, is knowledge powerful? And everyone was like, yes, knowledge is powerful. I said, no, it's not. I said, knowledge is powerful when there is action attached to it. And suddenly they were like, oh, yeah, that's true. And I think, people know that they need to step out of their comfort zones, and because yeah, we know, but it is facing that fear. And I think, do you think, the fear element of this is really what keeps people from actually getting to where they want to go in life? I mean, I just take the confidence that you have to kind of hop around the world like you do, because you've lived in a number of countries already. And, I remember you saying that you didn't have internet, and then you were connectivity issues and all this stuff. But it takes a certain kind of someone to be able to be agile enough to do that, right? And that in itself is confidence, and being able to just, show up. And I think that's an element of pushing through that fear. So do you think it's fear that holds people back and people are not actually looking at the fear?
100%. I'm so certain that fear is actually what most people withhold from being successful or going the next level or whatever. Basically, it is always fear. And the sad side of it, it's often fear for something that we shouldn't fear. For example, a big fear most of us have is fear for rejection. So what do? We reject ourselves in our minds already because we fear that otherwise others will reject us and we don't give it a go. And if you know, there's a saying, right? Every chance you didn't take is a missed chance. And that's so true, because there are opportunities out there. But if you are holding yourself back because of fear of rejection or fear of failure or whatever fear you have, you're not going to grow. You're not going to expand. You're not going to lead well because you're holding yourself back. So yes, fear is definitely the number one blocker of us all.
And I think it's that age-old question where people say, who would you become if you didn't fear what you were about to do? Who would you become? Who could you become if you just did it? If you just, whether you know the failure was there or even a possibility or not, you just did it because you were fearless. Who would you become, right? And I always hold on to that as such a beautiful sort of go-to conversation, where, you know, when I find myself in challenging situations and kind of going, okay, I've never been here, I don't know what to do, I'm not sure of myself, what's the next best option, what's the best answer to this? And it's kind of going, throwing my head in first, and that action, that first taking action before I get motivated, I just take the action and kind of go, okay, well, now I'm here and let's figure it out, which sometimes that sounds like a bit of madness, but maybe there's a bit of strategy behind that in any case, right? Like you're saying, action, you know, motivation doesn't come before the action. So I think just putting yourself out there is the point.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I think we should put ourselves more out there and see what comes from it, and be pleasantly surprised by what comes from it. It's the reason why my coaching business is called Amaze-Yourself, because I'm a true believer that there is so much inside of us that actually we would amaze ourselves, you know, when we would give it a go.
I mean, a practical example, we've been traveling earlier this year, and I'm one of those people who doesn't like to stick to a plan. So I'm like, you can plan, but to a degree, and then like, let go of the plan. And I was telling my partner, okay, cool, let's just jump on the train here and just go that way and then get off somewhere. And we did that, and we got off somewhere, and we were like walking around, and the place was dirty and it was horrible, and like there were homeless people everywhere. I was like, okay, let's get back on the train, go the other way. But we did it, and pleasantly surprised, we ended up going over the Rhine River on a cable car, and it was amazing, right? But it's simple things. It's that simple, like, action taking, right? And kind of because you, to your point, you know, amaze yourself. You'll be pleasantly surprised on what you could come up with and what could exist, because you just took the chance. Yvonne, I always love talking to you. It's such a delight. And if you could leave us with 5 practical things, or we could just sort of go, okay, cool, these are the things we need to consider, especially when it comes to motivation, confidence. What could you leave the listeners with today?
Okay, so if you struggle with taking action because either you feel not confident enough or not motivated enough, and you want to take that action. So the first thing I always recommend is, what is it exactly that you want, right? Be very specific on your goal. For example, let's talk about, because we spoke about, I need to address in a presentation 500 people. Okay, so this is what I want, but I'm a bit fearful about it. And all the gremlins start popping up. So the next thing you do is you tell people about, this is what I want to do. Okay, it's a very, very great way of getting yourself hooked So you can't back out, right? You tell people this
Yes.
is what I'm going to do, and the people will hold you accountable. Accountability is a big thing as well. So I'm going to present to these 500 people. Oh my word, now I'm really going to do it. Okay. So, and then, like you said, I love that question about breaking the fear down. You know, what am I learning? What am I learning? What am I learning? But then it comes to really taking that action. For example, you know, you need to prepare for that speech and you would love some coaching on your speaking, because you know 500 people needs a bit of a different way of speaking. So you need to pick up the phone and call a coach to help you with the speaking. Now, what is it best done? And I love this book and this method from Mel Robbins, who's a coach. And she's written the book, which is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And basically, you can Google it on YouTube and she comes up. It's really simple. That's why I like it so much. And do I have some time to briefly tell about a bit of background? Yeah. So basically, Mel Robbins was at a very difficult period in her life. She was depressed, drinking too much wine, didn't get up on time, didn't have a job. And even because she had all the time in the world, she would still send her kids out without lunch. So she wasn't feeling great. One night she was on the couch, dozed off, and kind of woke up while the TV was still blaring. And she kind of, in that like haze, saw this liftoff of a rocket. It was lifted into space and she saw 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 liftoff. And she thought to herself, what about tomorrow morning when my alarm goes, instead of snoozing it again and again, which she was doing, I tell myself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I get out of bed. And she tried it and it worked. And basically what she did, whenever she felt she had to take action, which she wasn't motivated for, or she was fearful of, or she felt like, ooh, this is out of my comfort zone, she said to herself, what do I need to do? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then do it. And it's about a physical movement that you need to take. So if you need to call that coach, pick up your phone and call the coach, dial the number, or go onto internet and Google the number for the coach. But it's doing something. Movement makes you actually feel that you're taking the action. And this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can apply to everything. So I really like it if we're talking about how do I take action before I feel motivated. Now you take the action, and then the good thing is, because we're all learning, you look back and you go like, okay, now I've done it. Now, how do I look back on it? And you evaluate and you learn from it. Because if we don't evaluate what we've been doing, we'll never learn. And we never think about, oh, okay, so basically it wasn't so scary, or basically, you know what, I could have done it better, so I will take that into account next time. But you also, because you reflect on it, you see you've done something that you were fearful of. And that in itself already boosts your confidence and motivates you to do it again next time. So shall I quickly list the 5 things that I said, because I talked a lot?
Yeah, you've listed. Thank you.
Okay, so set your goal, be very specific what you want to reach. Take others and talk to them what you're going to achieve. Make them hold you accountable. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take action, and then reflect on what you've learned so you actually can take the action quicker or better next time.
Fantastic. I love it. Guys, if you want to get hold of this wonderful, wonderful lady, she works with CEOs and she does amazing things all around the world, as you can hear. Yvonne, tell us what's the quickest way we can get hold of you?
So the quickest way is to go to my website, which is basically Amaze-Yourself.com. And there is a little hyphen or bracket between Amaze and Yourself. That's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Amaze-Yourself.com, guys. And Yvonne Dram, thank you for amazing us. Thank you for the conversation and the time. Absolutely love it. And we will chat to you soon.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye, everyone.
Cheers.